everybody, it's Chris from Crypto Team. And to me, to truly understand Bitcoin, you need to understand the network, the blockchain network. And to truly understand the blockchain network, you need to understand the definition or the difference between a centralized network and a decentralized network. Now, I will sit here and I will explain it to you from somebody who is from the United States. So let's first talk about our system, which is a centralized network. So a centralized network basically tells you that one bank or one financial institution has the privilege to control the production or the distribution of money or credit for an entire nation. So for the United States, for example, we live under a centralized network. So the Federal Reserve is reserve, or the Fed is what we call them. They control how money flows in and out of the United States. So, right now we may be having problems with inflation. So you'll have the Federal Reserve, they'll come in and say, okay, we're going to raise interest rates to help slow down inflation. And the Federal Reserve will raise those rates. So they tell you, this is the interest rate, so the banks will loan money out to a consumer by adding the Federal Reserve's interest rate to their interest rate and then giving that money out to you. So you're paying the bank. So basically, the Federal Reserve, they go ahead, they don't work for the government. They're not like a government institution. That's basically what I'm saying. And they say, okay, you're going to cut interest rates or raise interest rates according to our system so that we can keep the economy going. Okay, so in the United States, the Federal Reserve is divided up into 12 regional banks, and they get together and make decisions for the country. That's how it works. Okay, so now we understand how a centralized system works. With centralized system, like we said before, you have one bank setting monetary policy. But Bitcoin, it doesn't work like that. Bitcoin or blockchain is what Bitcoin is based on. Blockchain is a decentralized network. So that means that blockchain is basically a list of transactions that are basically on hundreds and thousands of computers. And these computers are called nodes. So with blockchain is decentralized. It means one ledger on many computers. So let's just suppose we have four computers, and it reminds you it's many computers, it's not four computers, but it's basically one digital ledger. See if I can get that working. Wow, my paint looks like it's dying. So it's one digital ledger, and a ledger is basically a list of transactions, and this digital ledger is duplicated on many computers. So in this example, we have one digital ledger that's on four different computers. And the blockchain is on many computers, not four. But one ledger, which is a bunch of transactions on many computers. That's how it works. So you're probably like, okay, well, what if this computer has a different ledger from this computer? How does that work? What if this computer says, okay, there's another transaction? How does it work? So what happens is, let's just pull up an example. Let's just suppose Paul wants to send something to Mary, $100 to Mary. Well, the first thing that needs to be done is we have to verify that Paul has the $100 to send to Mary. But what we'll do is we'll make this a transaction. We'll say Paul wants to send Mary $100, and in this transaction, it will say the following information. In this transaction. We'll have the date and time of the transaction. So Paul wants to send Mary $100 today at 5 p.m. So it shows the date, that, and the time. It say the amount of money, the $100 transaction. It have the combination of Paul's private key and Mary's public key together, so that all that information is basically put into a hash. And what a hash is basically all this information into a bunch of bits. So back in 2001, the NSA invented a security protocol, and this security protocol was called SAS 250, 256. And this security protocol, SAS, means secure hashing algorithm. So what it does is it'll take an input, whatever that input is, and in this case our input is the transaction of Paul to Mary, and it give me an output that is 256 bits long. So this secure hashing algorithm will take the input, which is our transaction of Paul trying to send Mary $100, and it give me a digit that's 256 bits long, saying that this was the transaction. And like I said, the input would be the date of the transaction, the amount of the money, the keys, private key, the public address, and all that information. So it'll take all that information and spit it out in 256 bits. And that's what a hash is. So what happens is Paul wants to send Mary the money. And in order for that transaction to join the digital ledger, it has to be verified. And that's where proof of work comes into play. So let's just suppose you, as a layman's person, you want to see exactly what that transaction looks like. If you want to go to see the blockchain, you can actually go to this website called blockchain.com/explore. And you can go on this website, scroll down, and you'll see the list of transactions. So let's suppose this is Paul trying to send the money over to Mary. You click on the hash, and like I said, blockchain actually uses SAS256 double twice. So all that information, the hash information, the 256 bits, this is what the hash is basically saying, for our example, that Mary wants to, or Paul wants to send Mary the money today at 5 p.m. All that information is contained in this hash. And what happens is, as you see, this says unconfirmed. This means that this transaction has not been proven. So we don't know if this is just made up. We don't know if Paul has the $100 to even give Mary. We don't know. All of this information will have to be decoded, or validated is more the word. Validated. And when that information is validated and it is true, Paul had the $100 already in his wallet to send to Mary, so everything is good. The transaction is validated. What happens is, once that transaction is validated, it'll turn into a block. So we go from this side, the hashes, over to the block. So right now, as of today, we have 722,123 blocks in this blockchain. And the height will continue to grow as these transactions, as you see, there's many transactions, get verified through proof of work. So, for example, this hash, this thing was verified, or this transaction, excuse me, was verified. And once it's verified, it was added to the blockchain as block number 722,123. So once all that information is verified, then the computers, all of the computers, will then update their digital ledger. They say, okay, it's verified, the transaction is good. Paul wants to send $100 to Mary. He has the money. Everybody looks good. Everybody's digital ledger. This person's like, okay, I see it's verified. I'm accept it. I'm gonna update my digital ledger. He's like, okay, I believe it too. I'm going to update my digital ledger. Then soon everybody will update their digital ledger. Now, it's hard to fake the information. So if, let's just suppose Paul didn't have the money, he was fibbing, and he verified his own transaction. This is suppose that happens. That means there'll be a fork in the code, and eventually it'd be found out that that code is not correct, because remember, you have all there's so many different ledgers out there, um that is hard to cheat, and we'll have to go over exactly how a fork in the road occurs and how to determine if the ledger is not correct. But just from layman's terms, once a transaction is verified, it turns into a block and is added to the blockchain. Basically, is how it works, and that's how the decentralized network works versus a centralized network that we have here in the United States and in most countries. So when you decentralize the network, you take the power out of one person's hands and you basically give it to the people. So that's why blockchain is that's why people are trying to regulate it and try to get it under control, because they don't, and honestly, I don't think certain people want other people to have the power that they have when blockchain goes into effect. Well, that's it. Once again, if you like this video, please like the video and subscribe to our network, and when other videos come out, you'll know. And if you have a specific topic that you want us to break down to layman's terms, just shoot us an email or just reply to this in a comment, and then hopefully we'll take your topics and try to explain it to you in layman's terms. Thanks again. Thanks for watching. This is Chris from Crypto Team.